And today we're going to be looking at something super important. If you're running ads and you're testing ads, you want to iterate on the things that are working, you want to double down on the things that work, well, I'm going to go through a simple step-by-step process that allow you to work with your creative team in order to iterate on the things that are working. So stick around, guys. We're going to get into it today. What's going on, ad gang? It's your boy Jerry the Ad Wizard coming back at you with a brand new video. Guys, if you're going to be running ads, it's really important that you keep iterating and testing on the things that are working. You want to keep driving revenue for your business. You want to identify those. You want to feed that information back to your creative team so that they can go and create more things that are working and create revenue for your bottom line, okay? So don't forget, ad fatigue is a super important thing. And obviously, you want to keep iterating and testing on the new things that are working. So I'm going to go through a step-by-step process that allow you to identify how you can manage the team and what you can do to identify the things that are working and how to create other ads that are working. So guys, grab your coffees and grab your hats. It's time to spin up some ad magic. Okay guys, so I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process that we utilize with our clients and within our teams in order to create iterations on the best performing ads so we can double down on the things that work, right? And we can keep trying and testing new ideas and hypotheses. This is very much based on the book called Sprint by Jake Redknapp and John Zeratsky. If you've not read it already, definitely highly recommend this. It's very much based on product iterations and how you can A/B test different iterations in the product itself. But the methodology is also very applicable within ads and creative ads. So within creative ads, you want a process whereby you're feeding back the things that are working to the creative team so they know what is working, so they can create more iterations of the things that are working. You can keep iterating and testing new hypotheses, and there's a cyclical methodology in which you can feed those ideas back, and also, very, very importantly, feed the learnings back to the team. The team is always very interested to hear what is working within the paid media side of things, and if we have a creative sprint process, this allows us, in a very simple but structured and organized way, test new creatives, create the new things that are working, analyze, and create more of those best performers. So this is a very simple step-by-step process, guys. I would say that you can definitely break this down even more. The example that I'm going to go through is based on a 2-week cycle of iterations, okay? So typically, we'll set some stuff up, and then within a 2-week period, we'll feed back those results back to the creative team so that they can create more of the things that are working. Typically, if you're just starting out with ads, or you already have some things that are working, okay? There are 2 different ways of thinking about each of those things. Firstly, if you've not read the book, The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, I highly recommend reading this, okay? This gives you the whole methodology on how startups typically work in terms of A/B testing and iterating on the best performing stuff. So if you're starting out ads for the first time, you're going to want to start off with what's known as a leap of faith hypothesis, okay? This is saying, I have a certain conviction in an idea. I don't know what's going to work. I don't have any data as to what's going to work. So I need to apply something that I think is going to resonate and work well for my audience within my business. But if you've already started creating ads, then this process is also very applicable because you can use the data that you've gained already in order to start out the next creative cycles, okay? So here, within this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to label each one as to what the responsibility for each department is, whether or not that's the creative department or the ad manager department. Sometimes you can have both of these departments merged together, but for simplicity's sake, we've got creative manager and ad manager, okay? Now, starting off on day 1, let's say, for example, this is on Monday, okay? So on Monday morning, we have a look and we say, hey, we have this data. This is the stuff that works. And from this data, we want the creative manager to go and create other iterations of the things that are working, right? So we're starting off on day 1. That is Monday. We send a new brief to the creative manager, the creative director, to say, hey, Mr. Creative Director, this particular ad is really working. We would like another iteration based on the things that are working. We might suggest to them some creative elements as to what we can include, okay? Imagery, headlines, and things like this. But it's important to understand what was working originally in your ad, okay? So again, to identify what is working ad, look at your CPA, look at your click-through rate. The CPA tells you the cost per acquisition. The click-through rate tells you how appealing your ad is and how appealing it is for somebody to click on. So look at those 2 things and identify, there's some definite winners here, right? Identify your winners out of the tests that you are running. Identify those so that you write a brief on the next step to what else you want to iterate. Now, there's new imagery, and if it's a video, you might start off with a new opening hook, but you need to make sure that you identify the thing that has worked within that ad, okay? So if it's an image graphic, and there are many different types of different ads that you can run, you want to make sure that you're utilizing the same type but you're iterating on the things, right? You're iterating on the colors, you're iterating on the imagery used, you're iterating on the examples that it might be bringing in. But if, for example, it's the hook, the first 3 seconds has really captivated somebody's attention, you don't want to change that up too much, okay? You want to still utilize the things that have worked without changing the whole ad. You don't want a whole new ad. You want to iterate on the things that are working, okay? To see if you can get even better CPAs, to see if you can get even better results, right? So don't fully change the ad. That you can do that, but within this particular example, I'm going to go through identifying the best performing ads and then creating new iterations. But if you are actually wanting to start off fresh, like I said, you might want a leap of faith idea just to say, hey, I've got a particular conviction in this idea and I want to see if this is going to work. But you can utilize the same methodology, the same creative sprint process in order to get that same data, the same analysis, in order to get the learnings, feed it back to the team and create new ideas in order to establish what is going to be working in the future. So the same methodology, okay? Day 1 will be Monday. How many iterations you create is very much dependent on your ad budget, okay? Don't oversync your ad budget by running too many creative tests in one go, okay? If your ad budget is very, very low, specify how many iterations you want to run. Don't forget, Meta typically needs at least 50 conversions before it can optimize fully. But within a creative sprint process, obviously, you don't need to run until 50 conversions happen. You can identify those best performings based on how many acquisitions you've had, and if it's at the threshold of the cost per acquisition that you're looking for, that is the signal to identify that you want to keep iterating on some of those creative tests, okay? So we write to the creative manager, say, this is what we're thinking. What do you think? We'd love to get the creative manager's input. They might have some ideas and some suggestions. Then it's the job of the creative manager and obviously to create the ads, okay? Now, depending on the turnaround time, depending on how busy the creative manager is, see those ads straight away. That's fine. Within this example, we've allocated a few days' time in order for day 1, we submit the brief. Day 1 to 4, depending on how busy the creative manager is, that's when the creative manager will create those ads. Okay. Obviously, we review them. We give back feedback within that time. But the idea is that come day 4, on Thursday, we want to launch those new creatives. We already have some creatives running. The best performing stuff, you can leave that on. But we want to add in some new iterations on those ads that are working to see if we can get even better results. Okay, to see if we can reduce ad fatigue and get even better results and CPAs than we're already getting. So that's it. On day 4, Thursday, within this example, we launch the new ads. We upload them into the ad manager and then we let them run. Okay, we need to let the ads run for at least 3 to 5 days. Okay, this obviously won't capture those 50 conversions that Meta might need in order to maximize fully, and that's fine. Okay, we're just trying to understand what is working. We're just trying to get some signaling to understand what is a best performer and what is a worst performer. Okay, so let the ads run for at least 3 to 5 days. I'd say 5. I mean, but if you can identify those signals earlier, then that's absolutely fine as well, okay? Don't hold 3 to 5 days. I'd say maybe a minimum of 3 days to see if you can really capture some of the data. Some of the data may change within that time, but you'll be able to identify the signaling of the things that are working within that time frame. So, guys, before we go anywhere else, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss any more important updates. We are here many times a week to help business owners, entrepreneurs, and digital marketeers the best from their online paid media and digital marketing strategies. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Come Tuesday, the next week, day 9 within this creative cycle, you'll be able to identify, looking at the data in the ad manager, what's working and what's not, so that you can keep the best performing ad running and turn off the worst performing ad, okay? You don't want to run ads that aren't performing or driving value for your business. You want to identify the best performing one, let that run. If it's within the threshold of CPAs that you're looking for, definitely keep it running. If none of them are running, turn them all off and try again. I wouldn't necessarily say that you have to keep one of the ads or 2 of the ads. Whatever is working to you and whatever is acceptable for the KPIs that you are looking for, keep those running and disable the worst performers, okay? There's no point running ads that are not driving value for business, guys. Flick them off and continue running the things that are working. And then, guys, right, you want to analyze the data. You want to keep those best performing ads running. Okay, you want to analyze those against some of the older ads that have been running. And if the KPIs are acceptable to you, you want to keep those best performing ads running to create new iterations again from that best performer, right? So again, identify what is working there and let's try something new. Okay, so day 12, Friday, you want to analyze the data. I put here identify 2 winners, but it doesn't necessarily need to be 2. Depending on how many creative tests that you're running, it could be a whole host of different creatives that are working for you within your acceptable KPIs. It could just be one, right? Don't get hold down to how many. Keep the ones, identify those that are the winners, right? If they're driving value for your business, you want to keep those running. You want to keep optimizing around those. Meta then, the more time it has, the more it can optimize. Okay, it will go through the learning phase with that best performer and get you even better results. Typically, the learning phase is the most expensive part. Okay, so within this creative process, that is also something to bear in mind. Okay, these ads within the first 3 to 5 days will be incurring the learning phase. Okay, this is fine to see results slightly higher than you might expect. Know though that after it goes through the learning phase, you're going to see better results. Okay, Facebook then through time can optimize more, finding those people that are going to resonate. And there's a very high likelihood that you'll see even better data as you let Facebook optimize it more. Now, again, this is very meta focused. Okay. Google has its own learning phase, its own creative sprint process. This is very meta focused, but to give you an idea of how we'd approach this, then after we identify the 2 winners, once again, we create another creative brief with the winning iterations. So the creative manager knows what's working. They can suggest new ideas of what they think might work next, or you could present to them a new hypothesis as to what you're thinking could work. This could be a whole new test. You want to keep identifying and testing new different angles and hooks within these processes, if there are any other ideas that you could leverage also versus just creating iterations of the best performers. Okay, so that's something also to bear in mind, guys. Like, you don't want to just create iterations of the best performers. You also want to create new hypotheses to say, hey, based on this customer journey, this could work, right? Again, within this phase, you don't necessarily need to create bespoke landing pages, but that would definitely increase the conversion rate. What you want to do here is test the signaling to say, hey, this could work. Once you know it works and you have conviction and a longer term view of that creative, create bespoke landing pages, guys. That's only going to help your conversion rates, okay? Tailor that customer journey to the ad journey. Depending on the creative they see, they want to hit a landing page that is very resonant based on that creative. Sometimes creating bespoke landing pages can be very resource heavy, so I wouldn't necessarily say right at the beginning that we need to have this, but once you have the data that says this is a winner, you want to create bespoke landing pages based on those messaging, based on those hooks, so that it's a seamless experience, guys. So when somebody clicks on that ad, somebody lands on your landing page, and they take the action that you want them to take, okay, that's going to affect your business. So that's also something to bear in mind on this. I wouldn't necessarily say that landing page creation is a part of this, but if you have conviction in the things that are working, then it's definitely worth considering also creating a brief for a landing page that harmonizes and resonates with that creative iteration that you've been testing or that new hook or messaging that you've been testing. Okay, guys? So within this methodology, go to day 12. You've analyzed the data. You've identified the winners. You've then created a new brief for the winning iterations. And then this is where it all feeds back together, guys. Start the process again, okay? This is what a sprint is, okay? You go through cyclical cycles where you A/B test, you understand what's working, you double down on the things that work, and you start the process again, okay? Keep iterating, keep trying new things, keep testing stuff to see how those results resonate with the rest of your data and the rest of your creatives, okay? You could find a new hidden idea through this creative sprint, and then you can create iterations and double down on those ideas, okay? I wouldn't necessarily say that you have to be held to this particular creative sprint. Of course, there are many ways of doing it. It could be way more detailed. It could be in a much condensed time. You could do a creative sprint within a 7-day period, which I also highly recommend, but it's a lot more vigorous, okay? You want to test within a 3 to 5 day period. You want to let the ads run. And then you want to feed that data back. It's a lot more time restrictive on the team. Okay, it's a lot more stressful on the team. But if you have got a huge ad budget, though, this is 100% what I'd recommend. If your ad budget is smaller, you don't have the budget to keep testing new ideas and iterations, and it's quite expensive potentially to get an external team to create these creatives. You want to be very careful and cognizant of that so that you're not overworking it and spreading yourself too thin on the things that are working. Okay, guys, don't do that, okay? Because ultimately, it does take time and it does take money and it does take data in order to optimize over time. But as a very simple nutshell, guys, that is it, okay? within a 2-week period, we're creating new briefs on the things that are working or the things that we have conviction in could work. We're then sending those briefs to the creative manager. The creative manager creates the ads. We let the ads run for 3 to 5 days. We then analyze the data, identify the best performing and disable the worst performing. We then wait some more time. We can then iterate again, or we can wait some more time, analyze the data, identify those winners, and create more briefs for that creative manager to create more of the things that are working. So hopefully that was useful to you guys. Hit me down below if you've got a other special way of doing this. This is a really highly condensed view of creative sprints, like I said. But if you haven't read it already, read that book, okay? How to test new ideas, how to solve big problems and test new ideas in as little as 5 days, okay? It's very much focused on product development there, but the same cycle applies, okay? Identify what's working and keep iterating on the things that are working and driving value for your business. Okay, and that's it for today, guys. Hopefully that was useful to you. Hit me down below if you've got any questions at all. I'd love to hear how you're doing this and how you're managing your creative ads. Don't forget, it's super important to keep iterating on the things that work, that are driving revenue and affecting the bottom line of your business. The creative process within ads is super important, and to keep feeding that back to your creative team is vital if you're spending money and utilizing paid media in order to grow your business. So hopefully that was useful to you guys. Hit me down in any comments below if you've got any questions. I'd love to hear what you think. I'm so grateful for all the support as always. If you want to watch a video to understand if you should be running ads at all for your business, click the link up here. I'm Jerry the Ad Wizard. You can find me on socials at Jerry Griffiths on LinkedIn, at Jerry Ad Wizard on Insta, and at Jerry Dreadlocks everywhere else. I'm Jerry the Ad Wizard, and wherever you are in the world, I bid you peace, love, a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, I will catch you in the next one.